to Stories Podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Weldin. Today's episode is called A Hercules Fable, an adaptation of a Greek myth written for you by Daniel Hinds and performed for you by Kelsie Lee. Thanks! Enjoy the episode.
A Hercules Fable. Once upon a time, in ancient Greece, a wagon trundled across the countryside. There wasn't a road exactly, so the ride was long and bumpy. Most people preferred to travel by sea, but some places couldn't be reached by the water, and hard-working wagoners could make good coin taking the long, dirty trip over land. Cleon was a wagoner. Whether he was a hard-working one remained to be seen. This was his first trip. He was only a boy, but he'd inherited the wagon from his uncle. It wasn't great as far as wagons go. The wheels were squeaky and creaky, its white canopy grayed with age. Cleon's horse was showing some age as well. His wavy black mane was humbly sparse and dusted with gray. "Come on, Hercules, pick up those feet," Cleon called, flicking the reins. He had named the horse Hercules when he was a kid. It had seemed a good, strong name. Now, though, with the horse old and slow, it felt more like an ironic joke. "Pick up the pace, you old nag," he called again. The horse looked over his shoulder, saw Cleon lounging comfortably on the wagon seat, and gave the boy a dirty look. "Don't start with me, Hercules. We've got to get these olives to Sparta before the festival, or our buyer won't give us half as much money." With a humph, Hercules picked up his pace, trotting the wagon up and down the long and bumpy road. Cleon began to relax a little. They were making good time. His mind began to wander, the reins held loosely, enjoying the glow of the sun on his olive skin. Of course, he should have been watching the road, but he was still a boy, and boys are nothing if not easily distracted. So he was completely taken by surprise when the wagon suddenly jerked to a halt and tipped forward, spilling Cleon yelping into a big muddy puddle. Splash! "What the? Hercules, come on!" He stood up, scooping fat handfuls of mud from his eyes and pulling clods of it from his curly hair. Hercules whinnied loud and long. To Cleon's ears, it sounded suspiciously like a laugh. "Real funny, you big lug. Why'd you stop like that?" As soon as he asked, he could see his answer, though. Water had pooled in a low spot in the road, forming the mud puddle. The rear wheels of the wagon, laden heavy with casks of olives, had sunk into the marshy ground and gotten stuck. With a sigh, Cleon pulled himself back onto the wagon seat. A cold glob of mud slid down his back, and he shuddered, miserable. "All right, Hercules, get us out of here," he said, taking the reins. Hercules blew air through his lips in a tired trill. He pushed his hooves hard into the mud and strained against his harness. The wagon rocked forward, but didn't budge. "Hercules, we need to make the festival. Come on!" The old horse pulled harder, head down and legs shaking with effort. The wagon rocked forward an inch, 2 inches, and then slid back into the muddy rut with a splash. Hercules whinnied, defeated. "No, we can't be stuck," Cleon cried, burying his head in his hands. If they didn't make it before the festival, his olives wouldn't sell for nearly as much, and the whole trip would be a waste. "Hercules, come on, pull!" he shouted. "Ugh, if only I had the real Hercules here, he'd be able to get us free." "Looking for me?" said a voice from beside the wagon. Cleon was so surprised, he nearly tumbled back into the mud. "What? Who said that?" From thin air appeared a mountain of a man. He was over 6 feet tall, with shoulders broad as a barge. His muscles were hulking and so solid, Cleon thought they may have been chiseled from marble by some master's hand. Astonished, he realized this man could only be one person. "Hercules?" he said, mouth hanging open. "That's right," Hercules said, stooping down to look at the wagon's wheels, stuck in the mud. "So you need a little help, huh?" Cleon was surprised, but in those days the Greek gods and demigods often visited normal people, so he wasn't as scared as he might have been otherwise. "I was just yelling at my horse," Cleon said, rubbing his neck in embarrassment. I named him Hercules." The real Hercules arched an eyebrow at him. Big fan." Hercules laughed and clapped Cleon on the shoulder. The demigod meant it as a friendly gesture, but he was so strong it nearly knocked Cleon right off the wagon. "No harm done. He looks like a good strong horse after all. Now, you need help moving this old wagon?" "Yes," Cleon said. "We're stuck and My horse isn't strong enough to get us out. Have you tried pushing yourself free? Well, no, I figured the horse should be able to do it. So you want help, but you haven't even tried to help yourself yet? Well, I guess not, but now that you're here, can't you just, Cleon mimed Hercules lifting the wagon with one mighty hand. I could, but that would reward your whining. If you want help, you're going to have to contribute. What? What do you mean? Cleon asked. Get your lazy bum off that wagon and push. I'll pull from the front, but I'm a demigod, not your servant, so you better help. But you're Hercules. You don't need my help. I don't, but I'm also not in the business of doing things for lazy children. You'll help, or I'll just head on back to Mount Olympus. Hercules began to fuzz around the edges, as though he may disappear at any instant. No, of course I'll help, Cleon said, scrambling off the wagon and running to the back. I'll push. All right, called Hercules from the front of the wagon. Are you ready? Ready.
And it's 1, 2, heave your shoulder to the wheel. 1, 2, leave, then you gotta show some steel. Put your back into it and dirty up those hands. You just power through it and make real all your plans. But before you ask for help, before you whine and cry, it's important you try for yourself. Yeah, try. And it's 1, 2, heave your shoulder to the wheel. Don't just grieve, you gotta plant your heels. Put your back into it and dirty up those hands. You just power through it and make real all your plans. But before you ask for help, before you whine and cry, it's important you try for yourself. Yeah, try. It's important you try for yourself. Yeah, try.
With Hercules' encouragement, Cleon planted his feet and put all his strength into getting the wagon's wheels rolling. He heaved once, and they rocked back. He heaved again, and the wagon seemed to lift and stand still. And with one final heave, the wagon wheel came free of the mud with a squelch, and the wagon rolled forward a few feet back onto the dry road. We did it, Cleon said, panting. Good job, kid, said Hercules from the top of the wagon. Cleon looked up and saw the demigod lounging in his seat. He'd helped himself to a handful of fat purple olives and was eating them with a smile. Hey, you didn't even help! Well, help can mean a few different things, can it? Said Hercules, hopping down from the wagon gracefully. I helped you with a lesson. He munched a few olives. Oh, yeah? Said Cleon, rubbing his shoulder. What lesson is that? Don't ask for help until you've tried to help yourself. If you'd stopped complaining and just got out and pushed, you'd have been on your way already. I guess that's true, Cleon said. Of course it is, said Hercules. So what are you going to do next time you get stuck? I'm going to try before I ask for help. Smart kid, Hercules said. He walked over and patted the horse Hercules on the neck. Take care of the kid, Herc. He's still learning. The horse gave a happy whinny in response. Hercules laughed, winked at Cleon, and disappeared. Cleon blinked and then shook his head. All right, buddy, he said to his horse. Lesson learned. Now how about we get these olives to the festival? Hercules whinnied in reply, and the wagon was soon bumping and rolling down the road to Sparta.
And it's 1, 2, heave, shoulder to the wheel. 1, 2, leave.
The end.
Thanks for listening.